No one who lives in Forest Lake has ever had a bad day. No one who lives in Forest Lake has ever had an enemy. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking on our part. Jeremiah not only had a bad day, he had a bad week. He had been arrested, he was beaten, he was thrown in prison. And then having been released, he pronounced that all of Jerusalem should suffer for it. And then he even had the gall, if you will, to curse God. God, why did you send me to do this mission? Why did you send me to proclaim to these people you? Why'd you make me do it? And then he prayed for the chance to see his enemies' downfall. And he wanted to savor it, to see them be destroyed. It's hardly what our Lord meant when he said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. This past Thursday evening, as Father Hedman and I had finished doing our night prayers together, my phone rang. I picked it up, and it happened to be a sergeant from the Forest Lake Police Department. He said, "Is this Father Bodin?" And I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "I'd like to inform you that someone has run into one of your sheds. They had driven their car across the parking lot and had driven it into one of the freestanding sheds in the back corner, destroying the garage door and pushing out the back wall on the west side. He said, we'd like you to come because the building is open and it needs to be secured for the night." So I drove up here to find the vehicle sitting on a flatbed truck, the windshield completely destroyed, pushed in a corner of the hood of the car. And I said, "Well, where is the person?" The person had fled. The person was no longer there. I said, "Well, do they have insurance?" The policeman said that we checked the vehicle, and yes, there is a card here, and we're calling Progressive Insurance to find out how much insurance they have, only to find out that the insurance card was fake, and that we as parishioners from St. Peter's would have to use our own insurance and pay for the damage that was done. I was furious, mad, angry. Why does this have to happen? How could the person not drive down the driveway? They were 180 degrees off from where the garage was and where they had to turn to go out the back drive. Furious, I called our principal, Mr. Moorhead, and he came and he helped me to put up a tarp over the door, and I went home. And the next morning, I got up and I went down to the chapel to do my morning prayers, and as I was saying my morning prayers, I happened to look up at the crucifix. And I can't help but recall, as I looked at that crucifix, the words that our Lord spoke to my heart. "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do." And I remember looking at that image of our Lord, seeing that gash in his side, the crown of thorns, his hands and his feet all bloody. And here I was mad over a garage door, over a wall that was pushed out a little bit. Our enemies, how do we treat them? How do we respond to them? Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. But the truth is hard. Change is hard for us. It's very difficult. It was difficult for Jeremiah in his own time, in his own day. And there are many saints in heaven today who struggled with the exact same issues. getting over the fact that they had enemies in their lives. But they learned to forgive them. They learned to say, I'm sorry. They learned to love them. Many of us have witnessed in the last couple of weeks the fires, the burning, the looting in our own city of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I can only imagine what those shop owners must have thought and how they must have felt when their stores, their businesses were burned to the ground, looting taking place. But how are we to respond? What are we supposed to do if we simply hate our enemies? What good is that? Where will it get us if all we do is hate? In fact, when we get to heaven, if we can't get along here, how are we going to get along in heaven? Those words of our Lord, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Even Jeremiah had a far way to go, but he learned to forgive his enemies, and he had many more good days than bad days. Whenever we're upset with our enemies, whenever we're distraught, whenever we're disappointed, let's not forget to look at the cross and to remember those words of our Lord. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do.